Welcome to the Evergreen Indiana feature review of Evergreen version 3.0 and the web client. The upgrade schedule. The Evergreen Indiana Consortium upgraded to web client version 3.0 in October 2017. The staff client has not changed significantly enough to warrant a reinstall across the sites, so while patches and minor updates have been integrated, the staff client is still listed as an enhanced 2.11. Patches, bug fixes, and features are being added to the web client on approximately a weekly basis at this time. Libraries may wish to run both clients side by side for a bit longer as you train locally and some of the bugs are worked out. We anticipate the complete support documentation for cataloging and circulation in the web client will be released in March 2018. The staff client will be removed from production, barring critical function failure in the web client, in fall of 2018 when Evergreen version 3.2 is released. We do not have a release date for 3.2 just yet, but the fall update is generally released in October, so we are targeting that time frame. We will keep the community apprised just as soon as we have the date set to close down the staff client. A common question we've received is, why are we changing? The staff client is built on a framework called Zool Runner. Unfortunately, development on that framework was shut down a few years ago, and it is no longer supported by its developers. That has made Zool Runner increasingly more difficult to use, as it is not able to support the functions we need in order to improve speeds, add new features, and clean up existing code. The Evergreen development community got together in late 2013 to discuss their options to ensure that Evergreen could continue to grow and stay viable in the market. The web client, built mainly with Perl and AngularJS, was their answer, and they've been working on it ever since. For the past couple of years, most new features have only been available in the web client. At this stage, only security fixes and cross-feature patching are being completed for addition to the staff client. The web client has many benefits, including quick and invisible upgrades, many new features, and a more modern and streamlined user interface. You may be asking, where and how do I use the web client? To use the web client at this time, you will need to use Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox to access the site. The site is listed on your screen. You'll need to have your local admin account or local admin staff person on hand to register your workstation the first time you access the site. Once your workstation is registered, you'll be ready to log in and get started working. Please be sure to not purge your cache, or you'll need to re-register the workstation every time you log in. Some staff may have this setting turned on automatically in your browser, so please check that if you have trouble with your workstation deregistering. The home page. The home page, accessed by clicking on the home icon on any page in the web client, features three familiar columns of quick links. There haven't been any additions or changes to the circulation and patrons or item search and cataloging columns, but there are a couple of new entries in the administration column. We now offer a direct link to the printable overdue notices. It functions the same way as the link for the payment reconciliation reports in that it takes you to the notice site with your login pre-entered. We've also added a direct link to the policies and procedures page, so you have that available for quick reference if you or a patron has a question. Across the top of your screen are the home icon link, menus for search, circulation, cataloging, acquisitions, booking, administration, a language switcher, and the session menu, which allows you to change user accounts or log out. This top bar will follow you throughout the web client. The column picker. The column pickers have undergone an overhaul in the client together with the widespread implementation of result pagination. Formerly, the column picker was designated by a mini spreadsheet icon. Column pickers now appear in all eligible interfaces as a simple down arrow at the end of the Paging and Actions buttons. There is ongoing work to refine the entries available in each specific column picker menu so that the available fields are fully functional and representative of the most common workflows completed in each interface. We are currently collecting feedback on available and superfluous entries in the column pickers. To select information for inclusion in the grid, please click on any entry that has an orange X in front of it. Green check marks denote active selections. You can drag and drop column headings in most interfaces to be in whatever order is best for your local workflows. Use the Configure Columns option to adjust column width. Once all of your adjustments have been completed, click on Save Columns. You can restore to defaults at any time by clicking on Reset Columns. There are also download and printing options stored with the column picker. Note that grids that have blue headers are click sortable and may have columns shifted around. If the headers are still black text, the sort order is not currently adjustable. All grids are expected to become click sortable and adjustable as more of the interfaces receive their final polishing touches. Column picker settings are unique to the workstation on which they are set. Pagination removes restrictions on the number of results that may be returned for search. Use the directional buttons to move forward or back single pages, or to go back to the beginning of the results. You can adjust the number of rows that appear in your results grid per page. If the desired page of results is known, you can jump straight to it. The Actions menu appears in interfaces where grid entries may be acted upon. Generally, you need to select from the grid to activate the button and access the available tasks. Right-clicking on selected entries will also open up the Actions menu. In your own time, the Evergreen Indiana Consortium spans 2 time zones. Libraries in Central Time will be pleased to know that the web client has been configured to respect your local time zone and record your transactions accordingly. This is expected to be especially helpful if we roll out an hourly circulation modifier and for reporting and transaction research. The OPAC and My Account. Holdings information wrapping in the OPAC view. As some of you will remember and have experienced, there has been a long-standing issue in the staff client where combinations of longer library branch names, call numbers, and shelving locations cause the holdings information to run off the right side of the page. In the web client, these fields wrap so that all of the information is always viewable on the page. In this example, you can see how a longer shelving location and library branch names have wrapped. Another example demonstrates how call numbers can also wrap. Happily, this patch was also backported to the staff client so that all staff can benefit during the transition. Shelving location links. A new feature in Evergreen may be familiar from ILSs you've used in the past. You can now make your shelving locations appear as links in the catalog so that you may attach maps and/or other documentation about those locations for patrons to review. These links are configured in the Copy Locations editor, which does require local admin permissions to update. To add a link to a brand new shelving location, it is entered here in the form. To update an existing location, find that location in your list and click on Edit. Enter the URL and submit. Once that is complete, you'll see the entry is now a clickable link in the catalog that directs the patron to your supplemental information. In my example, a map is provided of the collection location in the library. Please note, if you have shared shelving locations across library branches, only one link may be attached to a shelving location, so you may need to plan your documentation accordingly. Digital bookplates. For as long as the consortium has been around, we've been asking for copy notes to be searchable. Unfortunately, the developers have responded that adding them to searches would slow the search process so much that it would be unusable. So an Evergreen consortium in Pennsylvania came up with an idea for a separate search index that would fit our needs, and digital bookplates were created. Digital bookplate entries will not be returned in keyword searches of the catalog, which only look at mark. So to begin your bookplate search, you'll need to choose a special type. I am going to demonstrate from the patron view so you can see how patrons can also use this. The type selected must be digital bookplate. Then patrons can restrict by location and format if desired. For my example, I updated an item here at the State Library that has copy notes that we want patrons to be able to search. It is a Booth Tarkington book that was autographed by the author with an inscription to his sister. Now if I just search for Booth Tarkington, a classic Hoosier author, using a keyword search, I'd have had approximately 600 records come back with thousands of copies attached. This copy is special though, and thanks to the digital bookplate, it is the only result returned and the only result I need concern myself with today. When I open up the title record, I can see a combination of public copy note and digital bookplate entries appended to the item information in the holdings grid. Please note that at this time, the bookplate labels do not appear, but we do have that on our wish list for development. Because bookplates should be minimal and only contain text that should be searched, please continue to use public copy notes to provide natural language descriptions of the copy-specific characteristics. An example of superfluous language appearing in the digital bookplate entry I've created is his sister. Because sister isn't special in this case, it should be removed. I'll be demonstrating how to add and edit bookplate entries later in this training when we talk about new cataloging features. Circulation modifiers appear in the OPAC. Developed here in Indiana to facilitate the transiting video disc program, this new entry into the staff view of the OPAC is now available at all Evergreen libraries. We've had this in place since summer of 2017, so hopefully you have already used and enjoyed some benefit from it. Google Books Preview. An updated supplementary content feature underwent a major overhaul in the move to the web client. The Google Books Preview feature allows patrons and staff to see and search within the OCR versions of selected texts that the Google Digitization Project has made available as previews. You can see the link here, and a drawer appears here below that can be opened to view the content inside the catalog. The hope is that where libraries own the holding, interested patrons can use the preview to see if they would like to come to the library to see the rest of the item. In testing, this appears to have the most potential for materials that relate to local history and genealogy, as a limited number of titles have previews, rather than being available as full text or not available at all on Google Books. We polled the participants of the live feature review classes in December 2017, and the overwhelming majority of participants voted in favor of trying it out. It has been turned on, and we are monitoring the impact on search times as part of our overall evaluation of the feature. Circulation history downloadable. If you've worked with homebound patrons or with Reader's Advisory for enthusiastic readers, you may be familiar with the bug that caused large circulation histories to fail to download in earlier versions of Evergreen. Internal reports for staff are limited to 3 years, so there has been a gap in support for those patrons who are carefully tracking their circulation history. A rewrite of the underlying interface has fixed this, and full circulation histories may now be downloaded patron-side again successfully. As a reminder, for privacy reasons, we have no such access staff-side and do not anticipate there will be any development in that direction. Circulation, holds, and transits. Email circulation receipts. Originally released in Evergreen version 2.11, this feature has only ever been available for use with self-check and the web client. Patrons may turn this setting on for themselves in My Account under Notification Preferences, or staff may update their accounts by checking the box just below their email address in the Patron Edit menu. Having email circulation receipts turned on does not prevent you from still providing the patron with a printed receipt if you wish. Sticky due dates. Our bookmobiles have been waiting for a very long time, but sticky due dates have finally arrived and are already being used with great enthusiasm. To set a session or sticky due date, click on this drop-down in the patron interface and choose Use Specific Due Date Until Logout when you open up the account of your first patron at a stop. The selected due date is retained by the client for as long as that tab is open or that staff person is logged in. User buckets. Developed in part with Evergreen Indiana support, user buckets are a brand new feature that allow for patron records to be updated as a batch. You can access the user bucket interface in the circulation menu. The interface loads to the bucket view where you can open, edit, or delete existing buckets as well as create new ones. I'm going to create a new bucket. And now I have a bucket called Training that is ready for use. To add patron accounts to a bucket, click over to Pending Users. You can enter in barcodes individually or use a TXT or CSV file to upload barcodes. If you are uploading a batch file, please be sure that your file contains exclusively barcodes on separate lines, or you may receive loading errors. Choose from the loaded list and add to bucket. By creating it, I had already set my active bucket. I can also change buckets at any time here. Patron accounts may also be added using patron search. In this example, I found an applicable account and can choose to add it to a bucket using this button. Once a bucket contains user accounts, you can currently perform the following actions. If you are a local admin, you can delete all of the patrons. We do not actually recommend doing this because this action is irreversible, and we do have automated services in place that will remove your expired and long inactive accounts for you. You can use the Batch Edit All Users button to change home library, permission profile, and internet access level. You can bar the patrons, change their active status, add or remove juvenile flags, and update privilege expiration dates. Examples of how these might be used include updating all contract accounts if there is a change to your service contract, moving patrons to a new home library if you open or close a branch, or extending an entire classroom student cards privilege at once when visiting for outreach. Batch edits may be viewed and rolled back. An example from another state was a library that only offered free student access during the school year. During the summer break, privilege for all students was suspended unless they required a resident or non-resident card and reinstated once school started again. I don't know of anyone doing this here in Indiana. Actually, we tend to do the reverse with offering summer-only cards now in some libraries. But it is an example that shows how you might want to be able to roll back a change quickly and easily for a large group of patrons. Finally, there is a separate button that allows you to add or modify statistical category entries. We are looking forward to hearing how you leverage this new tool at your library. New patron search options. The patron search interface offers a couple of new options that have been on our development wish list for a few years. You can now use the identification blank to search for parents or guardians. And you can also search by birth date. For birth dates, you can search any combination of year, month, and day. Please use numeric entries. We do not spell out the months of the year in our data. If you only see a single line with name blanks in your search, please use this button to open out the rest of the form. Summary fiscal information for receipts. One thing that libraries have been asking be brought back for several years is the ability to add summary fiscal information to circulation receipts. I am delighted to share that it is once again available. In the example shown here, the patron's account balance now appears at the bottom of the receipt. The editing language for receipt templates has shifted to AngularJS, so there is a new syntax for the variable entries on a receipt. Styling is still done with HTML and CSS. Please note that there are a lot of active changes to the available fields for receipts at this time, so if you find that a field is missing, please contact the help desk to request that it be considered for addition to the selected receipt type. Not all entries will be available on all receipts, but we are working to get the entries that are in the highest demand in place. Simplified hold list printing. The last several migrations have added more and more printing options to the holds pull list with an astonishing final count of 5 completely separate methods in the staff client. The web client is much simpler with a mere 2 options. But the obvious option is still undergoing some work. If you click on the button at the top to print full list, you will receive the list ordered by hold request ID. This is obviously not terribly helpful since materials aren't shelved by hold ID order. To get the list to print as it appears on your screen, sort it in whatever order is considered most useful at your library, the most common being by shelving location and then call number. Configure your column picker so the grid appears in that order, and then choose Print Full Grid from the column picker menu. The list will appear exactly as it appears on your screen, but wrapped so you can see full titles, etc. Please note there is a known active bug at this time for monographic parts not being listed on the pull list. We hope to have that resolved very soon. On-the-spot patron search in the holds interface. Sometimes when you're on the front lines, patrons will call in or check in with you at the desk about availability of a title and will not have their card in hand. There's a new functionality in the holds request interface that will allow you to search for a patron by name or ID after you've found the item he or she is looking for. Simply click on the patron search button for a pop-up version of the search to appear. Suspend holds on placement. Holds may now be immediately suspended as part of the holds placement process. This is intended for holds curation purposes. For example, if a patron places the first 3 titles in the series on hold, she will probably want to read the first book in the series first. This allows the hold on, say, the 3rd book to be placed so that the patron is moving up the holds queue but isn't receiving it before she's had a chance to read the 1st and 2nd books. Simply click on this box to suspend the hold. The patron can choose an activation date at this point as well if they don't want to have to go back into their account and manually update the hold when they're ready to receive it. So in the example given, perhaps setting the date 2 weeks in the future will allow the patron time to read the first 2 books, and then the 3rd arrives just on time. Soft holds retargeting. We are implementing a new feature called Soft Holds Retargeting that will check the system for additional copies more often than the regular targeter, which runs every 24 hours. Due to the quantity of active holds and the extent of our holdings, we currently anticipate it can be run every 90 minutes or so, but we will be watching for server load to ensure it's not negatively impacting server speed. This should reduce issues with copies that were in process or mending, not targeting once they become available. Transit language update. Menu options related to transits have been updated to remove the term abort and replace it with cancel. In keeping with that change, a new data field for the date a transit was canceled has been added. Historically, if a transit was canceled, it was deleted and removed from the reportable data sources. With the upgrade, the transit information is retained with a date so that research may be completed on the where, when, and how of the cancellation. This does mean that older report templates may appear to show transits as active when they have actually been canceled, since the reports were only designed to ignore deleted transits. We will be updating the available templates over the next few months. Cataloging. Porting cataloging templates. The first time catalogers log into the web client, they should go to Administration, Local Administration, Volume and Copy Editor. This will open the editor and trigger the template converter to bring your cataloging templates into the web client. No further action is required. Do not import templates from the staff client. If you attempt to import your templates, you will lock up your template function and must submit a request to the help desk to have your profile cleared in the database so that you will be able to catalog again. Unified Holdings Creation and Editing Interface. The copy cataloging process has been streamlined down from 3 or 4, depending on your workflow, interface switches to 1. From any view of a bib record, click on Add Volumes. This will open the Unified Volume and Copy Editor. At the top, you can assign the owning location, set the number of volumes and copies for each location, add the call number, barcode, copy number, and associated monographic part or parts. Apply templates or enter copy attributes one at a time. There is no longer a confirmation step required for each element. Copy notes are immediately available for entry. Once all required fields are entered, click on Save and Exit. This will return you to the record page where you can refresh your browser to view your new holdings. From the Holdings Manager or Item Status, selecting items and using the Actions menu to edit volumes and copies will open up the editor and allow you to make changes on the selected copies. There are 3 tabs for the Volume Copy Editor: Edit, Copy Templates, and Defaults. Edit we've already talked about. The Copy Templates tab will allow you to edit or create new templates on the fly. Defaults allow you to configure which fields appear in the Volume Copy Editor. If you're interested in using digital bookplates, be sure that Add Edit Copy Tags is checked. If I uncheck a field here, it disappears or is disabled in the Edit tab. Copy Tags. The cataloging portion of digital bookplates are called copy tags. Once you have enabled copy tag editing in your defaults, you can click on the Copy Tag button in the Volume Copy Editor and begin adding tags. Be sure to use concise entries that will be useful and unique in a search. Natural language explanations should appear in public copy notes rather than copy tags. You must select a tag type. We have created 5 to start the process. Additional tag types may be recommended for review for inclusion to the cataloging committee. Once the type is selected, enter the name reflected by the type and then add your tag. You can add as many tags as are appropriate. Most donations in memory of a community member, for example, will have a tag for the memorialized patron and at least one for the donor. To edit a tag, you have to delete it and start over fresh. Click on Remove to delete the tag and enter a replacement using the creation process. Unlike copy notes, copy tags are always public and viewable in the catalog. Reports and administration. Template search. As you know, there are statistics galore available for reporting in Evergreen, and everyone is looking for something a little different to report to their community and board. This has resulted in a plethora of report templates that are available for immediate use. In the Reports interface, you may now search the titles and descriptions of all templates available to you. You can limit to specific folders or all available. You may also limit your search to just titles or descriptions. Searches are left anchored, which means that searches for circmod will also find titles listing circulation modifier in the title or description. This feature has also been made available in the staff client version. Source editor column for templates. With the transition to the web client, several template editors have transitioned to a new underlying format. This is true of report templates, and so templates written in one client may not be edited in the other. You can successfully use templates from both sources to run reports and get your data, but the editing restriction means that a new UI column has been added to the template grid, which identifies the source client so you know whether or not you can clone and/or edit the template. An entry of XUL indicates it was written in the staff client. Web staff indicates the web client. New reporting sources. There are two new reporting sources available. The first is a complex source intended to be used to track down when your library's last copy of a title is deleted. It's intended for use with third-party catalogs like OCLC, where you keep additional track of your holdings. The second is a compilation report source that combines all of the active circulation sources so that you can write a single report that encompasses traditional circulations with in-house use and non-catalog transactions. Please remember that if you use non-catalog transactions to track your computer use, service transactions, program participation, or room reservations, that your results will be skewed to reflect those entries. Printing and Hatch. Printing by default will use your browser to set up the print job and send it to your printer. A browser add-on called Hatch is in the process of being perfected that will allow for silent printing. We have some libraries already using it successfully, but it can be a bit tricky to install at this stage. We are working on documentation of the process and will be releasing it later this spring. Offline use. The offline module makes use of the caching ability of modern browsers to store information when not connected to the internet. The offline module is available from the circulation menu. Your workstation and working location are cached and required for the offline module to work. As with the staff client's offline module, we recommend using the web client's offline module exclusively for outgoing circulations and in-house use. We do not recommend using this for check-ins or patron registration at this time. Be sure to turn off strict barcode, as across the consortium, our barcode symbologies vary too widely for this to work properly. The offline management portion of the interface has been moved into the staff offline module, but is only accessible when you are online and connected to the server. Staff can see pending transactions and choose to export or import from this tab. Clearing transactions will remove them from your cache permanently, and so should only be used if the offline transaction is long out of date or you have manually entered the transactions separately. The Offline Sessions tab allows local admins and Circ1s to create uploadable sessions of the pending transactions. As usual, once all session data is uploaded, click on Process to send the data to the Evergreen Indiana servers. Click on the session to view the exception data that will require staff intervention. Serials and acquisitions. The staff client has two separate interfaces for maintaining serial issuances. The Serials module was rebuilt in the web client with a unified editor and quick receive capabilities for fast issue processing. The EDI order generator has been updated to more cleanly handle vendor attributes. Bugs. This is a new version of the client, so there are a lot of new bugs to discover and squash now that some of the consortia with large production servers are live. Testing is done on smaller test servers by a relatively small group of testers, and those testers may not be using the same workflow you do when testing. We are actively monitoring several bugs that we feel affect critical functions, but I'm not going to list them in this recording because the development community is working as quickly as possible to address them. Instead, I will encourage you to monitor the bug site where you can see other libraries' experiences, the developer comments as they work on individual bugs, and information about patches and fixes. Troubleshooting. If you're working in the web client and you're kicked off of your session unexpectedly, you may be experiencing what the community is referring to as the white screen of death. The quick fix is to press your control key while clicking on the refresh icon of your browser. That performs a mini cache clear that often will fix your issue. If an interface simply fails to respond or you get inexplicable errors, please use the browser console logs to get more complete error messages to report to the help desk. To access the console in Chrome, you can go to the three-dot menu and choose More Tools, Developer Tools, then Console. Or you can press Ctrl-Shift-I to launch the console. To access the console in Firefox, click on the three-bar menu and choose Developer, Console, or press Ctrl-Shift-J. In true IT crowd fashion, you may simply need to try turning it off and on again. In other words, close your browser and reopen it. Additional troubleshooting documentation is being developed and will be released shortly. Getting additional training. All of our standard courses have been updated to demonstrate the new web client workflows and are being offered via webinar at least once per quarter in 2018. Additional trainings will be announced as they are released.